Today I'm looking at codegym.cc. You can check out CodeGym, and it's Java programming learning from scratch. It said, if you're reading this, I can confirm that yes, these are Java lessons. Does it look like a Java lessons? Looks like a space cartoon. It said, make it through the whole course and you'll be a rock star Java programmer. There are 40 lessons, and it starts out like this. There's a story. The Galactic Rush crew crash landed at an unknown planet. During the crash, the spaceship slammed into a mountainside and was almost completely buried into debris. After trying for days to free the ship, the crew lost all hope of returning home and started settling in this new, unfamiliar place. And then a week later, Ely, the ship's navigator, happened to discover that the planet was inhabited by thousands of wild robots. Get that, wild robots. They could have helped clear the rocks and free the ship, but they were too primitive and stupid. They lacked the ability to do anything at all. They couldn't even carry rocks, an ability which would have come in handy. Professor Noodles, the mission's chief scientist, would later recall, "After a few days, I came up with a solution. I would take the firmware from Diego, a robot member of our crew, convert it into a firmware from a bricklayer, and then load it into wild robots. But luck seemed to be against us. After looking into it, we found that the natives didn't have any connectors for uploading the firmware. In fact, they didn't have any connectors at all." Bilabo, the only extraterrestrial on the crew, recalled that he had once met a robot on his home planet who knew how to program. Not only that, but this robot could even fix bugs in his own firmware. That's when a brilliant idea occurred to me. After all, I once managed to teach a capable robot to program in Pascal. I gave orders to trap the most talented young robot and teach him how to Java program. With this new coding skill, he would be able to rewrite his own firmware and help us out. In the end, we found a promising candidate. Diego suggested naming him Amigo, after the brother he'd always wanted, but never had. I offered to give Amigo metal beads for every month of his learning Java and then $10 per year to clear the debris after his training. For the savages, this was generous. After all, we were enlightening them for free. Yahoo! Diego later wrote in his memoirs, "I was outraged by his blatant robbery of my fellow robot. But the whole crew sided with Professor and Rishi. So, of course, I agreed, or at least pretended to agree, and offered to help teach Amigo. Ha ha. After all, nobody can teach a robot better than another robot." Everybody was so happy that I was willing to help that they decided to join me in training Amigo Java programming. You'll start at level 1. Your goal is to help Amigo reach level 40. But let's start small. First, try reaching level 2 of the Java lessons. Maybe you'll like it so much that you'll finish the Java course and get a job before you even notice. P.S. Let's get to learning from scratch. Click Next Lesson. So let's click Next Lesson. Next Lesson. The virtual machine and the first command. Amigo was nervous. His thoughts were scattered. His eyes twitched when he thought about the previous night. Those strange creatures he met yesterday wanted something from him, something so incomprehensible and unimaginable that he, who considered himself to be the smartest and bravest among his peers, started nervously chewing punch cards at the very thought of it. They want to teach him how to program in Java. What nonsense! Even the most naive robots know that robots first appeared as part of the creator's divine design. Blah, 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 blah. Even worse, they aren't just claiming it's theoretically possible, they're actually planning to do it. And he consented. He agreed. Why? He's going to be a Java programmer. They're going to, what? Turn him into the creator? Why would they do that? Just because. Is this a mean trick? Blah, 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 blah. Hello, amigo. My name is Rishi. I'm going to help you learn Java. A quiet voice pulled Amigo from his thoughts, returning him to cold reality. He was sitting in the very center of the alien spaceship. Isn't this a little intense for a robot only in 7th grade? The alien was still talking. Well, the die is cast. He was here, so he might as well learn. He would study diligently, starting by simply listening. I have been working on the Galactic Rush for many years, but this is the first time I've encountered such a planet. I'd like to know more about you. To begin, would you please tell me how you learn? You do learn, don't you? Yes, we share knowledge. We have preachers or lecturers. They lecture and we listen. Sometimes we write things down. Everyone just comes up to the robot lecturer and explains his understanding of what he heard. If the robot lecturer likes the answers, he records the knowledge of the sermon. How absurd. No wonder your civilization is ignorant. We're not ignorant. Where did you get that idea? Amigo was taken back by his impudence. Arguing with aliens, how impolite. He had just promised himself that he would listen attentively. It's often hard to distinguish advanced technology from magic, Rishi continued, ignoring Amigo's remark. Considering your level, I believe all technology may seem magical to you. Tell me, what happens inside a program? Java programs are divine creations. How can we comprehend them? We can, amigo, we can, and faster than you think. If you don't know something, it can seem complicated and even unattainable. But if you have a good teacher who explains everything as simply as possible, you'll be surprised how such simple concepts could have seemed so complicated. Knowledge is very important. Principles and skills are important. I have extensive knowledge, but above all, I'm a bureaucrat. A 16th generation bureaucrat with a capital B. And this is super cool. My bureaucratic skills have helped me to create the best Java course for you. This includes tasks, programs, games, exercises, pictures, and even lessons. Even lessons? Asked Amigo, genuinely surprised. Yes, as was proven in the 22nd century, a good lesson is just a bit more effective than a good book, and mediocre lessons are worse than a mediocre book. However, as we're currently very limited in our teaching tools and can't put you through a standard 28th century educational simulator, we had to resort to much more primitive methods. We made up a real hellish cocktail of games, tasks, pictures, lessons, and cartoons. This is intriguing. Speaking of cartoons, this is intriguing. I hope so. Interest and intrigue are the basis of any learning process. If a student becomes bored, the teacher shall be beaten with a stick. This is a quote from a law of education from the 24th century. What a good law! What did you expect? Let's imagine a movie that has bad ratings. In this case, the director is to blame, not the audience. If he makes interesting movies, he's always filling the theaters. I totally agree. Ready to listen. Very good. Then let's start. Rashi's voice was spellbinding, and Amigo tried not to miss a single word. A program is a set list of commands. First, you execute the first command, then the second, then the third, and so on. Once all the commands are executed, the program's finished. What kinds of commands are there? Commands depend on what is executing them, on the type of commands the actor knows and understands. You can give a command to a dog, sit, bark, or to a cat, shoo, or to a human, freeze, or I'll shoot, or to a robot, work, robot scum. What else? Amigo was finally starting to have fun. Programs written in Java are executed by the Java Virtual Machine, JVM. The JVM is a special program that knows how to execute Java programs written in Java. The list of its commands is quite extensive. For example, this command could be used to display robots are friends to humans on the screen. Here's a super simple command. System.out.println computers are friends to robots. Rather than starting with commands, we'll begin with a couple of simple principles. Knowing a couple of principles can replace knowledge of many facts. Here's the first principle. In the Java programming language, each command is written on its own line. A semicolon is placed at the end of a command. Suppose we want to display humans are robots and robots are friends forever on the screen 3 times. This is how it would look. The program's made of commands, 3 commands, system, out, print line, humans and robots are friends forever, semicolon, 3 times. The second principle, a program can't consist of nothing but commands. Imagine a room in an apartment. A room can't exist on its own. It's a part of some apartment. An apartment can't exist on its own. It's part of some building. On the other hand, we can say that the building is divided into apartments and apartments is divided into room. Everything's clear so far? So a command is like a room in the Java programming language. A command can't exist on its own. It's part of a function. In Java, functions are also called methods. A method is part of a class. In other words, a class is divided into methods, and methods are divided into commands. So a class is an apartment building, function or method is an apartment, and command is a room. Did I get that? Absolutely correct. Amigo looked at Rashi in awe. The human was explaining to him the basics of programming using divine Java language, and he, Amigo, just understood. He guessed all by himself. That program consists of classes, classes consist of methods, and methods consist of commands. Amigo still didn't know why he needed it, but he was certain that this knowledge would make him the most powerful robot on the planet. Meanwhile, Rishi went on, programs in Java consist of classes. There might be tens of thousands of classes. A minimal program is one class. For each class, a separate file is created. The name of the file matches the name of the class. Suppose you decide to create a class that describes a home. You'll need to create a home class that will be saved in a file home.java. If you want to describe a cat in the program, you'll have to create a file cat.java or declare the cat class in it, etc. The file contains code text written in Java program language. Usually it's a class's code consists of the class name and class body. Class body is written in curly brackets. This is how the home class file home.java should look. Public class, home, class body. I understand so far. Great, let's go on then. The class body may contain variables, also known as data, and methods functions. Home, variable, variable, method, method. Would you please give me an example? Of course. Public class home, integer A, public static void main, string, args, system out, print, one, public static domain, double, pi, return 3.14. Are integer A and integer B variables and main and pi methods? Yup. Can classes exist without variables? Yes. And without methods? Yes. But a minimal program must contain at least one class that must include at least one method function to get the program running. The method must be named main. A minimal program looks like this. Public class home, public static void main, strings args. I can see the home class here. I see the main method, but where are the commands? A minimal program doesn't have any commands. That's why it's called minimal. I see. The class that starts the program can have any name, but the main method used to start the program must always look like this. The same. Public class home, unchangeable part, public static void main string args, code for the method. I think I understand everything, at least it seems so now. Brilliant. Let's take a little break then. Shall we have some coffee? Robots don't drink coffee. Water makes us rust. What do you drink then? Beer, whiskey, 100-year-old alcohol. That's even better. Shall we have some beer then? So we're ready for the first program. We looked at the background and look at this computer guy, and his name is Amigo, and Amigo's got the challenge to make a program with JavaScript. And this is the first time that I've looked at JavaScript in this kind of method, and code seems like a really simple way to eat Java and help these robots on the island. So, an hour later, a fun time with your break. Terrific! Where did we stop? The code inside a method or something like that. Right, exactly. The body of a method consists of commands. We could even say that a method is a group of commands that has been given a name, method name. Both statements would be true. There are all sorts of commands. Are there dogs on your planet? Only domesticated robot wolves. Do they execute commands? Yep. Bite, eat, tear, and good, heal. Nice commands, but there aren't very many of them. How many do we need? The Java language has commands for every occasion. Each command describes some action, and at the end of each command, we use a semicolon. Here are some examples of commands. Command 1, system out print line. Description displays the number 1 on the screen. System out print line Amigo displays Amigo on the screen. System out print line Rishi and Amigo displays Rishi and Amigo on the screen. Actually, this is just one command, system.out.println We use parentheses to pass arguments to the command. Depending on the value of the arguments, the same command can execute different actions. That's very convenient. Yes, if you want to display some text on the screen, you put double quotes on each side of it. A single quotation mark looks like this. Ding. A double quotation mark looks like this. Ding, ding. A double quotation mark is not the same thing as two single quotation marks. Please don't confuse them. The key for the double quotation mark is next to the enter button on the keyboard, right? Right. Amigo's pulse accelerated from 3 to 5 gigahertz. He still couldn't believe it. He had just learned how to print strings on the screen, and it turned out to be much easier than he expected. Amigo looked out the window to distract himself from his thoughts, and calm down. The leaves were turning yellow. The rusty season's very close. He nodded automatically. An illuminator let him see much further than usual. The newcomer's technology was very advanced indeed. But did he care about the leaves now? He would multiply his knowledge again by evening. But his thoughts wouldn't calm down. One day, he'd write a program to make all robots take refuge in their homes during the rusty season. That program alone would save thousands of robot lives. This command had two variables, system.output.print line and system.out.print. If you use system.out.print line command a few times, you'll see that each time the text you pass to the command is displayed in a separate line. If you use system.out.print.line command, the text is displayed in the same line. For example, system.out.print.line amigo line is the line best. Number 2, print amigo line is the print best. It's all in one line. Amigo is the best, print, amigo is the best, one line. Keep in mind, print line doesn't start printing text from a new line. It prints text on the current line, but makes it so the next line will be printed on a new line. The print line command prints the text of the screen and adds a special unseen new line character. This is what makes the next text start on a new line. What does the entire program look like? Look at the screen. Public class home, public static void main string args system.print amigo system.outprint is the system.outprint best. Oh, it's clear. We added spaces to the ends of the words so they wouldn't all run together, right? Exactly. You're a smart little guy. The command made Amigo radiate with pride. Great. Here's your first task. Here's task. And I tried this already, so I tried again. I think being a programmer is cool. If you don't think that being a programmer is cool, then you must not have tried it yet. It's time to give it a try by writing your first program. Use a screen output command to display a phrase that a Code Gym graduate once scratched on the hull of his spaceship. I think being a programmer is cool. So let's try this one. I think being a programmer is cool. The program should output text. The program should begin with I think. The program should end with is cool. The text should contain 34 characters, including spaces and punctuation marks. The text should consist of one line. The text display test must match the test conditions. I think being a programmer is cool. It goes right here. This is the command. System dot out dot print parentheses quotation I think being a programmer is cool. What's missing? You're right. Semicolon. You think it's going to work? We're going to verify this. the task has already been completed. Let's do it again, but that's the program right there. You're a smart little guy. So I'm gonna start this code gym, and this is lesson 1. Boing. Java programming, learning from scratch. So we go through this. You can find this at codegym.cc. That's what we got. This is the main point here. We have class, method, and variables, and then commands. The command fixed inside of a function. Pretty cool stuff. And we wrote 1. Programming. I think being a programmer is cool. So next time we'll do ELI. ELI, variables and data types. Lesson 4 of level 0. So we're at level 0. That's great. It's the introduction level. Let's continue next time. Bye-bye.